So in this video, I'm going to show you how we build cold email campaigns in 20 minutes or less using Claude Code. Now, last month we booked 200 plus meetings across all of our clients, and every single campaign that we set up was built in under 20 minutes with Claude Code and skills. Now, of course, that is a little bit of an exaggeration. There's a lot of systems and tinkering and stuff that goes on beforehand, but once you've got it set up, then the reality is that campaigns can really take just a few minutes to actually set up from start to finish, with the copy, the list, the campaign itself, everything like that, the research, all these aspects can be done really, really quickly once you have the systems in place. And I'm going to talk you through kind of how I've been able to build that, or how we've been able to build that inside our team. So the initial problem is a lot of teams, a lot of founders, a lot of sales reps, leaders, etc., are doing everything manually. So list building, writing copy, etc., or they've tried different tools, Apollo, Smart Lead, whatever it is, Instantly, etc. The results are okay. But the reply rates might drop over time. It might be a deliverability issue. It's very hard to actually configure, understand what is the problem. Is it the deliverability has dropped? Is it the copy is not working? The offer? Is it the list? Etc. And if you don't know what the problem is, you can't diagnose it. You can't fix it. And so the issue is all the campaigns that you're building are basically starting completely from scratch. Right, new idea here, let's try again. That got good results, that didn't get good results, let's try again. That did book meetings, it didn't book meetings, try again, right? So the iteration, there is no compounding effect with the iteration. And the change that AI brings in is that now you could kind of do this before, but I don't think a lot of teams were doing this. You can actually have compounding at a larger scale across all of the campaigns that you're doing. So the issue here is that there's no memory. Right? Every campaign starts from scratch. So nobody's tracking really what angles worked, which personas responded, which offers converted, or if they are, it's living in like a spreadsheet, and there's no ability to kind of like be able to understand and distill the data so that you can get insight signals to be able to create more campaigns that will actually work, right? So the shift kind of happened over the past few months, last 3 to 6 months. Basically rebuilt our entire operations around 3 things, which is Claude Code, connecting it via MCP to, for example, Email Bison, which is our email sending platform, and then also having a central database in Supabase. Now, it's kind of like a topic for a separate video, but I think very much like one of the areas that we're really trying to double down on is have a database that has all of the information across your entire business, whether that's finances, your messages in Slack, your email comms, your client comms, your campaign results, everything gets stored in Supabase or in just a backend database, it doesn't freaking matter, that you can then query with AI. And that's kind of like the big unlock here, is the ability to query the data. Now, obviously, there's a huge aspect of actually cleaning the data, but query the data so that you can have a system that actually improves over time, and you can understand, okay, these campaigns, this offer, this hook, this thing, this is what's actually been performing, and pull the patterns there. You can sync that up. Obviously, you have it with your CRM and so on, and you can understand this is why people close, this is why people didn't close, and you have a system that actually builds over time, right? So now every campaign, every result, every learning follows exactly the same system. So you run a campaign that gets logged, you understand exactly who that was going out to, the personas, what revenue was generated, how many leads came from it, the number of meetings, etc. That all goes in, and you can see at any given moment where kind of the patterns across all of the campaigns that you've run, and you can kind of start to take very fragmented data and bring it all together so that it compounds, and over time you learn, this campaign is actually booking the most meetings with the ICP that we do want. Right. So this way of doing it, I guess, is just a much smarter way, because you can at any moment query it very quickly and get the insights that you actually want. So the foundation here is having a data layer. So what I wanted to show in this video is kind of just the initial part of what it looks like to actually be able to build the campaigns really, really quickly, which means that you can test very, very quickly. Now, of course, you can... there's quite a bit of tinkering that needs to happen on the front end to be able to actually get the system up and running. And of course, you can tweak it depending on your persona and everything. But quite literally, you can get it to a point where you can just put in a command, and you'll be able to build a list, build an offer, build your copy, create the campaign, and import the leads ready to go. Which means if you now are spending 10 minutes doing that, you can spend the rest of your time thinking about initial ideas, but then as you launch that campaign and you start to get feedback on that campaign, you can now go in after a couple of days, weeks, whatever, and you have a bunch of tests going. You get all of the data back into your database, and then you can query it and understand what patterns do we have, what's actually going on here. And then it takes that learning and then compounds for the next time when you create the copy again. it now knows this campaign and these angles, this is what worked best. Once you start to get the data, let's now try and build on this so we can do a control and then a variant on top of the control and so on and so forth, right? So this bit here that I'm going to show you, I'm just going to demo it to you, similar to some of the other videos that I've showed, but just kind of like takes it just one step further, just to show you how you can build the list, the copy, and the campaign and everything with quite literally like in less than 10 minutes once you've got it dialed in. Now, of course, if you wanted to do this at scale, it'd be a little bit like take a little bit longer, of course, but you could still just as equally build the list and skill and everything around kind of like what your requirements are. And then the way I see it is you'd have lots of different like playbooks, and you would have those skills that would link in with those playbooks. So every time you wanted to run, okay, let's run like, companies that are hiring right now in our ICP, whatever it is, you can now pull that, use that skill, it will get the list from that, and then it will be able to build from the previous data that you have on what angles worked for that particular segment. Or if you haven't done that segment before, it can take some of the data from other campaigns and build on that, and then take like cross-reference and say, okay, these are the patterns that have performed well, and we can apply it over here. So anyways, I'll just jump in. So here, quite literally, what we have is a skill that I just created before this, and it's YouTube demo run. So this will quite literally build a lead list, right? And this lead list that I've built here is just for, it's for marketing agencies, but again, you could tweak this however you want to do it. So marketing agencies, 11 to 50. And if I wanted to, I could add in, on top of this, build out for, I want to find companies that have just recently hired in XYZ, or they're expanding, or they've got at least 3 salespeople on their team, or finance people, or whatever it is. You can tweak this however you want to do it, right? Now, instantly, I've just typed this and it's given me a spreadsheet, which then I can review and double check. And so what I wanted to go after was initially UK marketing agencies, 11 to 50 founders, CEOs, etc., heads of marketing. So then I can just double check here the titles quickly. And in the skill, what we have now is the ability to, and it's just a predefined workflow essentially. It's just taking what's in your brain and putting it into paper, like into a computer. But it's now just essentially taking the steps that we wanted, which is I want to find this particular segment, right? And that could be whatever you want to do, this particular segment. And then based on that segment, I can then filter the right job. So I make sure that I have the right job titles, because obviously if you do any filters, sometimes you're going to get the wrong people and so on and so forth. So filter the right job titles. You can score them if you wanted to. You can build that like scoring rubric in as well if you wanted to. You can classify them. So make sure we remove any like non-B2Bs here. So only B2Bs in the list. And then I wanted to make sure that the companies that are in here, if you use your standard industry filters or even keywords, marketing agencies, sometimes there'll be software for marketing agencies, recruitment for marketing agencies, so on and so forth. So we wanted to remove those. So then we have, and this is all happening in that skill, right? Because I built in, this is what I want to happen, right? And then validation and so on and so forth, right? So this is kind of how it would work. So now that we have the list, we've got a list of 120 odd or whatever it is, which again, super small scale here, but you could then do further enrichment if you wanted to. You could pull like what news or what things are happening with each one of these companies, and then that could inform your messaging. But again, there's all like going into more of the details there, which I just wanted to show like this is what could be possible in terms of being able to build campaigns quickly. And speed is not just the important aspect here, but it's being able to test and iterate very, very, very quickly and be able to learn from those things very quickly because of the whole system and how it works all together. So anyways, so we've got the lead list, right, and that's all done. So if I just click approved, next step, it will now basically go into the offer design. So what I've done and what I've trained it on is how to actually design an offer based on things like risk reversal, like free deliverable, lead magnets, and so on and so forth. So what it's going to do now is going to take that information that I've given it around offer design and go and build an offer that would be for these people. Now, what it's also doing on the back end, which we're not necessarily seeing, is even though this is like a demo, I've linked it to like Leadify, our own outbound campaigns and all the campaigns that we have on the back end in terms of like the results and stuff. So what it's doing is it's taking the information from those, the patterns from those, and then it's building and cross-referencing it against the offer doc and then building out something so that we can basically have like here's an offer that we can test out on, here's an offer that has potentially like worked in the past that we can now test out here, right? So then it would just say basically the trigger is this. They market for clients have no systems for their own pipeline. Obviously, if you wanted to, you could do further enrichment to understand like if they do or don't and so on. Obviously, that point is a little bit trickier to like discover, but you get the point. And then offer type deliverables. So here is new business teardown, 1-page analysis of 3 specific things a company could do to generate pipeline for outbound. And then proof, risk reversal. The deliverable is free, 0 effort. So we're just asking people in the email. We'll put together a business teardown on 3 specific things that the company could do to generate more pipeline. Obviously, you would then go and create that once they've responded. But basically, this would be the offer for the cold email itself, right? So you're giving them something for free. And here it understands all the metrics of proof, deliverable, what they're going to get, and so on and so forth. So then after we've done this, what I would do is just hit approve, next step. And then what it's going to do now is ideate the campaign and then go to copywriting as well. So ideate the campaign is just quite literally who are we going to, what's the actual campaign going to be about exactly, right? Now, obviously, this is built from the offer. So first comes the list, then the offer, then the idea for the campaign itself, like how the specific angle, and then comes the copy. Then once we've got the copy, then we obviously push it to the campaign, right? And create the campaign. So yeah, just give it a second to kind of run here, basically to, it's going to create a Google Doc with the details. Here we go, cool, that's quick. Right, this. Cool, so now you can see client, and it just gives me some information about what it is. It just means it's just got a structured format for when it goes into creating the copy. Because what I found is if you just go and create the copy without like a little bit of a structured format on what the angle is, and again, of course, if you're doing lots of different tests, this would be more useful because you would have like angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, angle 4, and then that would be based on the offer itself, right? So if you wanted to do lots of tests, you could have 4 or 5 different offers that you wanted to test out. One's a free deliverable, one's a direct response, one's a whatever it is. And again, all of that stuff is feeding back into the backend system that will then learn over time as you start generating the results or no results, and it will learn and it will be able to then, when you create a campaign from future, not start from scratch, but actually know this is what's worked, this is what haven't worked, and be able to have it all stored in a place which is easily compounds, basically. Talks about tone, the campaign settings, blah, blah, blah. And then it's put together the actual copy here as well. So random question about how you currently filling a pipeline at company. I ask because most engineers and founders I speak to are brilliant at generating leads for their clients, but not blah, blah, blah. Put together a short teardown for a few agencies. So what's interesting is we've actually used very, very similar copy for our own outbound campaigns in the past when we're targeting agencies. And this is kind of very similar to actually what's worked. So what it's done is taken the offer plus the copy that's worked from the ledger, which is where we store all the campaign results, and then put those together and then create a new copy. So it's not, again, starting from scratch. It's taking what's worked plus something new and applying it to create a new variant. And you could obviously do that as many times as you wanted to. And then step number 2, follow up on this, recent meetings. So yeah, you can pause it, have a read. But this is all just generated from ledger plus offer and obviously the context itself from the business that we have. And then it's able to then build things out like very, very quickly, right? And if you want to make tweaks and stuff, you can go back and forth if you want with it, right? Cool. And then I can say approved, great. Loads. Campaigns. Next steps. So now it's going to go and create the campaign in Bison. So right now, this is just a demo account. There's no recent campaigns. So it's going to now go and create the campaigns here in Email Bison. So what it's also going to do is add spin tags as well. So if you're doing high volume campaigns, spin tags is obviously super important, or can be super important. And then, yeah, so it's just running through everything, basically what it's going to do, the configuring of the settings and so on and so forth. And then it's going to create the campaigns here. So we'll just give it a second to do that, and then we'll come back once it's done. Cool. Okay, so now it has gone and created it. So that took 1 minute, 25 seconds. No senders exist because it's just a demo workspace, but it would have added the emails if not, and then create the campaigns here. So if I just go into Bison, refresh, and it's here, right? So we've got 112 leads, which is added, and then we've got the campaign in here, we've got the sequence, and we've got all the settings and stuff here, right? So Yeah, I mean, and it's formatted. It knows what it's how to format things. It knows how to do the variables because we've trained it all on that. So now it's just the ability to create those at really large scale. And then as we launch this, and then obviously the settings and schedule and everything is set exactly how we want it to be. So yeah, that's quite literally it. In less than 10, 15 minutes or whatever, we're able to create a campaign super, super quickly. Now, of course, the aim isn't just to do speed, but the aim is to combine that with being able to learn and have the learnings compound over time. And I think that's what the key is kind of as you kind of build with AI, is to have the layer below, which is the data and the system, and then to be able to have data to have AI on top of it that can then query that data so that over time, as you launch campaigns, you don't just have to go, I don't know what's working, we have no idea. You can get patterns over time and understand this ICP or this job title, this persona, etc., is what's responding. Now I'm going to create a campaign with this, and this copy over here was actually working for this segment, so now I can work on this. And it's very easy to do that. You don't have to go in and dive into the campaigns and do all the little things here and there. You can just ask it which campaigns are working really well, what's driven most of the meetings this month, this quarter, whatever it is, which one's driving the most deals, what are the main, and then if you wanted to take it a step further, you can connect that with your call recording for recording your sales calls, and then you can pull in, right, what are some of the objections that we get, and then you have a full loop and a full system that lives in a database on the back end. When you create campaigns, you can create them very quickly, and then that means that you can test things, and the goal is, because you can take ages to create a campaign and you can think about all these ideas and everything. The way I see it, at least right now anyways, is the speed of iteration. So you get something out, you test it, you see how it works, and if it doesn't work, you bin it off after you hit a certain threshold. So that's kind of how I see it in terms of being able to do it. And AI just makes that the ability to do that much easier and quicker, so that I don't have to spend time doing the little detailed things, but rather I can actually think about what's the campaign that I want to do, and then I can cross-reference that with the data that we have, and we can build on top of that, right? I don't think AI should replace the thinking that you do. It should just replace the grunt work of doing stuff that wasn't necessarily like a higher leverage thing, whatever, however you want to call it. So you can spend more of your time thinking with it and making strategic decisions instead. So anyways, if you want to get your outbound looking similar, where you're able to create these kinds of campaigns like this, essentially, but obviously at a much larger scale, then feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn or book in a call below. And yeah, I hope you got some value out of this. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.